totally, Keith. We're going to finish off with Chelsea. Can you give us the latest, please, and your inside knowledge on their current situation? Did they transfer control of their women's team to themselves? What's going on with that current scenario?
Yeah, look, another great Chelsea loophole. This is one that all of us supposed experts didn't see coming. The valuation of the women's team was incredible. I think it was about 160 million pounds, $200 million. And then how they justify that is purely on forecasts for potential revenue coming forward. Now, that's a very long stretch to actually get that valuation going, because it's not based on actual numbers at all that they've achieved. But they believe that women's football is going to grow exponentially and that Chelsea will be worth 160 million pounds. Now, if you look at some of those transactions, that's like half a Newcastle, basically. Now, if you can say Chelsea's women's team is worth 50% of Newcastle United, I'm finding that pretty hard to accept. However, if they do sell that to themselves, another asset they're selling to themselves to try and get around PSR, the Premier League have got to look at that seriously, because that just doesn't make any sense at all. And if you're looking about, as I say, the whole valuation, to me, doesn't seem to fit in terms of associated party transactions. Here's one that sticks out like a sore thumb that isn't a proper valuation. So again, hey, listen, you can't fault them for trying. They're trying everything from training grounds to women's teams. Give them the credit for that. And maybe they'll get away with one of them. But I think the Premier League have got to be shaking their head saying, hang on, look, come on, boys, calm down and let's be silly and play the game properly. You've overspent. Now stop trying to get around it. I'm afraid take your medicine, take your punishment. You did overspend. You had a big rush of blood to the head when you came in. I'm afraid you're going to have to pay for it now. But they keep on looking for loopholes. And as I say, God loves a trier.
And what does it mean, Keith, in terms of a sanction? If the Premier League are to pick up on this, if it does sort of lead potentially to a sanction, what would those repercussions be in your view?
Again, we're looking at serious points deductions. I think, in this case, we could be looking upwards, possibly up to 12 again. There's certainly been no cooperation as such, as far as I can see. So again, this is a pretty, there was a big rush of spending. We can all remember Graham Potter coming in. They were buying everybody from Brighton. And so, at some stage, if they can't get these loopholes approved, and again, this is down to, really clever dancing on the head of a pin language with barristers, etc. And there may be a way through it. I'm not saying that they won't be successful, but I think it just doesn't feel right gut-wise in terms of them getting away with this. But we'll see how it develops. But I think there could be a serious sanction. And it'll all depend, as I say, on the cleverness of the Silks, once again, which is an unfortunate part of football today.
And in terms, Keith, of sort of looking at that timeline, if they are to receive a points deduction sanction in any capacity, what are we looking at, considering that we know City's case is likely to be going into the sort of tail end of 2024? Could Chelsea face a similar timeline if they are to, if the Premier League are to potentially look into this?
I think it's going to be the second part of the season. I think it'll be in 2025 is when any charges may come out. But a real big question mark on this, as I say, and I really need to do further work on the actual detail and how they believe this could be acceptable. There's certainly no precedent for it, which is probably in their favour. So it's new ground that we're breaking into. So we're going to have to watch it closely.
We saw Keith picking up on another Euro star. Cole Palmer was fantastic for England at the tournament. What's his valuation, do you feel, in today's market? And is he the next big England star alongside Jude Bellingham? Do you feel that actually he could become the man that most people look to at England at both domestic and international level?
Look, he played very well, there's no doubt, but he had few moments as we saw. I mean, Southgate didn't have him starting. So Cole Palmer looked great goal in the final, there's no doubt about it. If you're looking at Grealish, he didn't make it, was a £100 million player, then I think Cole Palmer is certainly a £100 million player. I think there's no question. I think he's shown now enough last season. As I'm saying, forget the tournament. I'm just saying on his season's work, that alone would make him, to me, the £100 million player. And I think probably more. City are probably regretting the fact that he's gone because he's developed well. But, these things happen with players. Sometimes they click, sometimes they don't. And it does happen quite a lot. So Cole Palmer, look, seems to be very grounded as well. I tend to look a lot at the personality of the player. He's been very quiet. You don't see him in media. You don't see him out in Ibiza. And so, I think he's an asset that would be looked at. And I think Chelsea will do well to hang on to him. And I think they need to, because I think he's also the bright spark of Chelsea's season last year, and probably was responsible for that end of the season, sort of bit of a run that they went on that gave them some credibility and took a lot of pressure off. So I think, Todd Boehly should be thanking Cole Palmer a lot for what he's done and making sure he stays.
In terms of their sort of other news, Keith, we know they launched their home kit recently on that design to unite the club, as they've sort of explained. Do you feel that their sponsorless kit as it stands will please the fans? And actually, given that reaction that we've seen, could other clubs actually go for the same? Not necessarily the one just sold in stores, but also the one they're going to play with on the pitch?
Well, there's two things there. Let me address, first of all, your question about do fans like the sponsorless shirt? I think a lot of them do, but the clubs don't like it because they're not getting paid and they haven't got a sponsor, which that's what it really means, is that they haven't been able to get somebody who's prepared to pay the target number they're looking for. Now, on this Chelsea shirt in particular, I was going to have a rant about this today, because what I've got, I read the press release, and if I can just read it to you slightly here. Continuing the story of Chelsea's historic success and the dynamic culture of London, the home shirt features a distinctive melting pot pattern resembling liquid gold and silver. This pattern represents the fusion of Chelsea's rich legacy with the ever-hot youth culture of the city. It's a symbol of the club's past achievements and our commitment to embracing the future. Chelsea is a passionate, diverse global community, one that embraces pioneers, expects excellence, and plays with a burning pride. Our home shirt is a showcase of that. This is the fans' energy, the players' energy, the city's energy. We burn blue. Please pass the sick bucket. That is just a melange of words, marketing hype that is rubbish. I just don't accept that at all, I'm afraid. That's overhype. And I really think that that's taking the mickey out of football fans to really think that's the case. I think they had a young copywriter who's gone in there and tried to make a mark. And I'm afraid, from my own point of view, I may be old, but I'll tell you what, I know what's genuine and I know what's not. And I know in marketing, you've got to be genuine to be able to bring the fans with you. I know a lot of Chelsea fans who've said the same thing as me. They were absolutely laughing at that. They know what Chelsea stands for. And this whole idea of this burning melting pot, I'm afraid it's a football shirt. And, it's, yes, Chelsea have got great things that they stand for and history behind it, but it's not that. And there's different ways to do it. I mean, you could have perhaps launched it with a new record or a song or some, associate it with the right social media influencers and the right rock stars. Do it that way and get your message across that way. But don't try and say that the shirt represents something like that. So that's my rant for today. I'm afraid it's about the overhyped marketing of what is essentially a football shirt.